When is it safe? Remove the radiator cap. When the cap is cool enough to touch with a bare hand. When you first approach your vehicle, which of these should you look out for? All of the above. Which of these is not an essential feature of spare tire? Same manufacturer as other truck tires. When using T-downs, what weight should they be able to lift?
1.5 times the weight of your cargo.
Approaching a gain working on the highway, you should cut your speed.
When beginning a long downgrade, which of these is the only thing which should not be a factor in choosing your speed? How far are ahead or behind your schedule?
When checking your vehicle's load, you must make sure it conforms to
all local, state, and federal regulations that will apply to your journey. What is the minimum tread depth for tires that are not front tires? 2/32 of an inch. What is blocking and bracing? A way of keeping cargo secure. What is the safest way to control your speed on downgrade? Using engine braking. Who is responsible for making sure our lights and mirrors are clean? The vehicle driver. If you smell exhaust fumes in the cab, what should you do? Stop immediately. If you're driving a 30-foot vehicle below 40 miles per hour, how much time should you leave between yourself and the vehicle in front? 3 seconds. What should you consider when using a GPS mapping system? It should be programmable specifically for trucks. Why might your brakes start to fade going downhill? Because they overheating. The most important reason for your pre-trip inspection is to make sure that the vehicle is safe. Which of these should make you reject a vehicle until it is rectified? Tires that are different sizes. If you experience a fire while your vehicle is moving, where is the only place you should pull over? An open area. What 3 things related to cargo are the driver's responsibility? Inspecting the cargo, recognizing overloads, and properly securing the cargo. Which of these is true about hours of service? You should balance your hours of service with enough sleep to keep you alert. You should use a helper to help back your vehicle when possible. Which of these is danger of crossing railroad tracks on dirt roads? You could get hung up halfway across the tracks. What is the minimum length for mud flaps? Within 8 inches of the road. What is hydroplaning? When the tires lose their contact with the road. Which of the following may be a sign of tire failure? Both of the above. What effects can wet brakes cause? Brakes can become weak. When should you wear seat belts? Anytime you are in a moving vehicle. You should try to park your vehicle so that you can pull forward when you leave. How often should you check your gauge's air pressure, temperature, etc.? As often as practicable. How far into your trip should you make your first inspection of your cargo? Within 50 miles. What is the best way to know what another driver may be doing? Observe their head and body movements. If you feel yourself starting to become sleepy while driving, what should you do? Stop and sleep. How should you check for leaks in hydraulic brakes? Pump the brakes pedal 3 times, then hold down for 5 seconds. How do you calculate the amount of following distance space you have? Pick a clear landmark, then count off the seconds between the vehicle ahead passing it and you reaching the same landmark. What's the most important reason for making sure that you signal well before you make a turn? To dissuade other vehicles from trying to pass you. When backing up, which side should you back towards? The left-hand side. Which of these trucks will have the shortest stopping time? One which is fully loaded. Which of these is the only thing which should not cause you concern when checking your tires? Tires from different manufacturers. What's the very first thing to be checked before making any physical tests on your pre-trip inspection? That parking brakes are on and/or wheels are chalked. Which of these is not a situation where you should use your low beam headlights? Driving through trees' shadows. Why do vehicle hauling hazardous materials need warning placards? So emergency services know what they are dealing with in an accident. If there are 2 left-hand turn lanes for you to choose from, which one should you use? The right-hand lane. Before descending a hill, it's essential to be in the right gear because you won't be able to drop to a lower gear once you start descending. Crossing railroad tracks, you should change gear. You shouldn't. Where can you find the maximum weight loading for pressure a tire? Printed on the tire. How many T-downs should a cargo be held with? At least 1 every 10 feet of cargo. If you are stopped by the police and refuse to submit to a breath test or other testing method for drugs or alcohol, what will happen? You will be treated as if you failed the test and lose your license. Both federal and state law insists that all vehicle must be inspected before a trip by the driver. Which of these commercial vehicles must come to a complete stop at a railroad crossing? All of the above. In very hot weather, how often should you inspect your tires? Every 2 hours, 100 miles. When you see a hazard ahead, what should you do? Start planning on what action to take if the hazard becomes an emergency. When pulling away in snow or icy conditions, what technique should you employ? Very gradual, slow acceleration. If you travel at 55 miles per hour instead of 65 miles per hour, you could improve your fuel economy by as much as a mile per gallon. How should you check for overhanging hazards, trees, power lines, etc., before backing up? Get out the vehicle and walk round to check for yourself. Which of these substances can impair your ability to drive safely? Some cold medicines. Descending a long downgrade, which of these will help you if you have brake difficulties? All of the above. What should you do when caring for conscious accident victim? Keep them warm. Which of these fires is it not suitable to use water on? Gasoline fires. Going down a mountain, upon reaching your safe speed, you should then brake to 5 miles per hour slower. Why should you make sure you keep your vehicle in the middle of your lane? To avoid drop-offs. When performing a walk-around inspection, what must you do? The steering system. Grab the steering mechanism to test it. What is the ideal position for your hands on the steering wheel? Imagining the steering wheel as the hands of a clock. 3 and 9. When double clutching, what should you do if you have difficulty getting into the next gear? Return to neutral and bring up your engine speed to road speed, then try again. Approaching on and off ramps, you should remember that the posted maximum speed may not be suitable for your vehicle. If you're driving in town, how far will your recommended 12-15 second planning ahead measure in distance? About a single block. Which of these conditions are the ones when you should downshift in advance? Before entering a curve and entering downgrade. You are following another vehicle. What is the minimum space you should maintain between the two vehicles? Enough space for a following vehicle to overtake. Enter the space between you safely. What is the most important tool you have to monitor the condition of your vehicle when underway? Your eyesight, your hearing, a sense of smell. If your load protrudes more than 4 feet beyond the rear of your vehicle, which of these do you need in New York? All of these above. Driving on highway, it is recommended that you monitor a quarter of a mile ahead. At highway speeds, this equates to 12 to 15 seconds. How do you know when it's time to shift gear? By monitoring the vehicle speed and the engine speed. If there is an obstacle in the road and you have a choice of directions around it, why should choose to go right? It will avoid driving into oncoming traffic. Or he can't see you. It will avoid driving into oncoming traffic. If you need to establish a warning system at a time when artificial light is not required, what should you use in place of your warning triangles or flares or reflectors, according to New York law? 2 red flags. What should you be aware of when passing a motorcycle? That tour vehicle can throw a motorcycle off course. How many red warning triangle or flares or reflectors should your vehicle be carrying? 3. If you double your speed, how much does your stopping distance increase? 4 times. If you are towing another vehicle, what is the maximum length of tow connection you are permitted? 15 feet. How many different states' commercial driver's licenses can you hold simultaneously? 1. If a railroad crossing has a steep approach exit, what should you be very aware of? You could get hung up on the track. If you are tested and found to have a blood alcohol concentration below 0.04% but above 0.0, what will happen? You will be taken out of service for 24 hours. If an accident victim is bleeding heavily, what should you do to help? Apply direct pressure to the wound. If lug nuts have streaks of rust on them, What might that indicate? They might be loose. If you've been drinking alcohol, the only way to prepare yourself for your next trip is to wait the minimum amount of time it will take that amount of alcohol to leave your system. How soon should oil pressure rise to a normal level after starting the engine? Within seconds. If you were carrying hazardous materials, what should you do with the shipping paper when you're out the cab, for example, eating in a diner? Leave it in plain view on the driver's seat. How can you avoid temporary night blindness from other drivers' lights? Look at the sidelines instead. When descending a hill in the state of New York, what is it unlawful for you to do? To coast down the hill. If road has been recently repaved, what can that mean for you going through an underpass? The clearance height may be lower than it was previously. If you must leave the road to avoid a collision, you should. All of the above. Federal, state, and local regulations concerning cargo weight, securement, and cover vary widely. Which should you obey? All of the above. If you have a cargo fire inside a box trailer, it's important that you don't open the doors. What are two of the most common causes of tire fires? Underinflation and duals that touch. A bridge formula restricts the axle weight for axles which are closer together. Is it true if the engine is not overheated, it is completely safe to remove the radiator cap? No. For which of these circumstances should you not use your horn? To show somebody they have annoyed you. Always try to back toward the driver's side because you can see better watching the vehicle rear out the side window. The definition of a hazard is a road or road condition that could be a possible danger. To gain a CDL in this, you must self-certify that. All of the above. You don't want to be a distracted driver, so you turn off your cell phone until you reach your destination. What constitutes a hazardous materials placard? Signs that warn the public to stay at least 1,000 feet away from the vehicle. What constitutes a hazardous materials placard? Signs on the outside of the vehicle that identify the hazard class of cargo. If backing with a tractor trailer, turning the wheel left will do what? Turn the cab left and the trailer right. Total stopping distance is a combination of perception distance plus reaction distance plus braking distance. What is the best way to figure out how many seconds of following distance you have? Wait until a vehicle passes a shadow or a landmark, then count the seconds until you pass it. Where should you place your warning devices if you must stop on a one-way or divided highway? 10 feet, 100 feet, and 200 feet toward approaching traffic. What is the greatest weight allowed for a vehicle or combination of the vehicles plus load in the state of New York? 80,000 pounds. You should inspect wheel bearing seals for leaking. How many seconds does it take for a normal tractor trailer to clear a double track? More than 15 seconds. The minimum number of T-downs on load is 2. If you have a second conviction for DUI while operating either a CMV or your personal vehicle, What is the minimum amount of time you will lose your CDL privileges? Life. No transport cargo safely. Which of these are you not responsible for? Ensuring the freshness of sealed cargo. On the wet roads, you should reduce your speed by 1/3. If you hit a thick fog bank, what's the best thing to do? Stop in a safe place, wait for it to pass. The minimum tire tread depth for front tires is 4/32 inch. How often must you stop to check your cargo while on the road? All of these. If you are traveling at 55 miles per hour in a 30-foot vehicle, you should leave how many seconds of following distance? For seconds. What happens when you let the air out of hot tires? This is a bad idea because when the tires cool off, the pressure will be too low. If you have a convex mirror, for example, fish-eyed, spot bug eye, what should you allow for? That objects may appear to be smaller and the farther away than they really are. Which of the following is not something you should check during a trip? Text messages. While driving at night, which lights should you use as often as you can? High beams. How can you start moving without rolling backward? All of the above. If you have a B/C-type fire extinguisher, what is it suitable for dealing with? Electrical fires and burning liquids. If your emergency kit, you do not need to have a spare jacket. Which of the following is a key steering component? Gearbox. Which of the following determines the safe speed for going down a steep downgrade? All of these. If starting from a standstill on a hill, what's the best way to get moving? Partly engage the clutch before you take your right foot off the brake. How many hours of sleep does the average person need per night or risk accumulating sleep debt? 7 to 8 hours. According to the manual, how far ahead should drivers look while driving? 12 to 15 seconds. How can determine if your vehicles are equipped with ABS? All of the above. What is not one of the 4 skill areas that operating a commercial vehicle requires? First aid certification.